This presentation is about an equation that we can write to show the whole economy in a model with letters. And this equation is called the GDP equation, or the national income equation, and it really is just a simple equation to summarize everything we know about our picture of the economy. So we have learned so far that national income is a measure of the size of an economy, and that national income is identical to national output. We learnt this with the can of Coke example, where the value of the can of Coke, which was part of national output, is simply the sum of all the incomes earned from the factors of production used in the production of the can of Coke. So national income and national output are in fact identical, and they are both symbolized by the letter Y. But of course, income and output are the same as something else, which is total spending. And we can see this because clearly for income to be earned, some spending has to be done. Nobody can earn any money incomes without someone having spent the money in the first place. So there is an obvious connection between total income and total spending. And it's this that we are going to use, this connection that we're going to use in order to derive the income equation, the national income equation. So let's take the size of the economy, which is the national income, and understand that Y, the national income over a period of time, over 1 year, is equal to the total amount of spending done in the economy in that period of time. And let's see who's doing the spending. Well, households are doing some spending, which is called consumer spending, and is symbolized by the letter C. Governments are also doing some spending. Firms are spending money. They're investing money in capital equipment, that is factories and machinery, etc. Also, foreigners are doing some spending. They are buying our goods. So if we say that total income is equal to total spending, the total spending in the economy is C plus G plus I plus X. But we want this total spending to be equal to income earned in our economy. Now, it's a fact that some of the consumer spending that's done, some of the spending by government, and some of the spending by firms is not done on things produced in our own economy, but things produced outside, in the outside world. Now, when consumers, government, and firms buy foreign goods, it does not lead to any income for people in our own economy. So we have to subtract the amount of spending which is done on imported goods in order to make this equation work. Because on one side, we have national income. That is to say, the income earned by our people, that is, people in our own economy, national income. And we want this to be equal to total spending. And therefore, we have to subtract the bit of spending that we are doing which does not lead to national income in our own economy. That's imports. So really, the national income equation, the GDP equation, is Y equals C plus G plus I plus X, but minus M. We are subtracting that M in order to make this equation true. And we usually actually put a bracket around X and M, and we look at the difference between exports and imports, and we call that net exports. And that can be a positive number, or it can be a negative number, depending on which is bigger. If X is bigger than M, then X minus M will be a positive number. If X is smaller than M, then X minus M will be a negative number. So that net exports figure can either be a net positive or a net negative. But if we include the M, this equation, this whole equation, is now true, and we now see that national income is equal to this level of spending, and it excludes spending on imports. So now that we have a true national income equation, let's see which are the bits that make up our whole national income. So our whole national income is 100%, because that's everything we earn in 1 year. Let's see what each element of spending contributes to that 100%. Well, consumers are responsible for about 60%, 60 to 65% of the total income earned in our economy. So their spending is responsible for about 60 to 65% of the total income earned in our economy. Government, well, it varies, of course, but let's say it can be something between 10 and 15%, maybe a little bit more, of the national income. Now that takes us, if we take the higher figures, that would take us to 80% so far. Now, if we say that firms are responsible for, say, 25% of the total spending of our economy, 65 plus 15 plus 25 is, of course, 105%. Now, that seems a bit strange because we're saying that we have 100% on the left-hand side of the equation, which is our total income, and we already have 105% on the right-hand side. This can actually be possible if this number, x minus m, is negative. So imagine that we are importing more things than we are exporting. This will be a negative number, and if this is negative 5% of our national income, then the whole thing still adds up to 100%. So don't forget that x minus m can be a negative number because some countries, some economies, import more than they export. And so this overall x minus m can be a negative, which means that C and G and I can add up in percentage terms to more than 100% and still balance the equation. So that's just a small point about the GDP equation. So now we can see that our national income can be equated to the total amount of spending in the economy done by consumers, by government, by firms, and by foreigners. But that we have to subtract spending on imports in order to make the whole equation balance. And this is our GDP equation. The reason it's an important equation is that one of the aims that we have is to make the national income rise over a period of time. This is called economic growth. And by having an equation that shows us the various elements of national income, we can identify quite very easily that any policies or anything that we do that causes consumer spending to increase, or that increases government spending or investment spending by firms, or indeed export spending by foreigners, will lead to a rise in our national income. So the policies that we identify are targeted at each element of spending in our economy. And this is one of the ways that we can easily look at how we can increase national income over time. So this equation is a very handy reminder of the ways in which we can design policies to target spending in our economy and increase our national income.